Hi there. I always feel like we're a musical group. Dana and the gang here in studio. Welcome to Inside College Basketball Bracket Week, presented by Kubota. Dana Jacobson, Danny Granger in the middle, Gary Parrish on the end. And I just said to you, I got a comment off of our Conference USA semifinal game with Middle Tennessee getting the win. I covered Reggie Upshaw when they got that win over Michigan State last year, and he's always just so calm and cool. And I know that they're just getting back to the conference championship game, but that's got to help this time of year.
There's no question. I mean, these are high-stakes basketball games, particularly this one for Middle Tennessee, because though it's unclear whether they could get an at-large bid, you don't want to put that in the committee's hands. So when it's thrown up in the air, particularly against a team that's already given you problems once this year, you got to come out ready to play. That calmness certainly was a factor, and Middle Tennessee handled it from start to finish. And now, I don't want to turn into Jerry Palm, but I think as long as they're competitive tomorrow, even if they take a loss, at worst they're 29-5. That might be good enough to get an at-large. I wouldn't put it in the committee's hands. I'd go try to get the automatic.
Right.
But if they do, they might still be okay.
Jerry would probably disagree with you.
We'll find out momentarily.
Yeah, but this Middle Tennessee team, they're used to winning. And you could see that from Upshaw's demeanor when they interview him. They're used to winning. They're a great program. And I'm so excited to see what they will do in this NCAA tournament. Then I'll have even more fuel for my debates as to why some of these big schools should not be in. We should have more schools like Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, 26-point win for Middle Tennessee UTEP. I should remind you that we are taking you up to our next Conference USA semifinal game, which will be Marshall and Louisiana Tech. But let's take a look at Middle Tennessee's resume, brought to you by Kubota. You know, just in case they don't win that conference tournament, their resume certainly says that they could have a possibility. You guys are talking about it, enjoying and appreciating who they are as a team. And we sent it over to Jerry Palm, now our bracket expert, to get a little more insight.
Well, Danny, the problem is this year we don't have a lot of teams like Middle Tennessee, but we do have Middle Tennessee. And Middle Tennessee does have probably the best tournament resume of any of these non-major conference champions, with wins over Wilmington, a 23-point win at home over Vanderbilt. They won at Ole Miss. And now that they've reached the final of this championship game, they're guaranteed to play a team that's not going to hurt them too badly. They've already got 3 bad losses. If they lose in the final, it might not even be a loss to a team that ends up ranked outside the top 100, so they might actually be okay.
All right, Jerry, we appreciate the insight. We'll check back with you in just a little bit. Right now, we want to take a look at the rest of the tournament bracket in Conference USA. We've got semifinal number 2 coming up for you here on CBS Sports Network. Louisiana Tech and Marshall. Now, Marshall got a free throw win. They're the 6th seed, beating out ODU by 1. It was John Elmore, hit one in the final seconds. And then you've got Louisiana Tech, Danny, led by Eric McCree in their win yesterday, 20 points, 16 rebounds for him.
Yeah, and whenever you have a guy that can get you a double-double on any given night, that's always a bonus. Eric McCree for this Louisiana Tech Bulldog team, he does it all for them. He finishes in transition. He pushes it on the break. He's a post option for them. In a lot of conferences, they don't have a dominant post forward, but he gives them that. And then, obviously, he can rebound the ball very well. So he's a big asset to that team.
And you mentioned John Elmore from Marshall. I mean, just a terrific college basketball player, averaging 19.9 points, 6.0 assists, 4.5 rebounds. He was big yesterday against Old Dominion. 15 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. He's reached double figures in points every single game this year. He's gone above 30 points twice. You know, his father was a heck of a player once upon a time, scored more than 2,400 points for VMI. The son's pretty good as well, high-level player for Marshall.
And I'm sure that Marshall fans would disagree. A lot of people want to see, though, that Middle Tennessee Louisiana Tech matchup yet again. We've got more to come after the break, including an upset in the Big Ten. It might be why I'm smiling so much right now. We'll be right back with more of Inside College Basketball Bracket Week, presented by Kubota. Welcome back. Big Ten conference tournament going on in Washington, D.C. Michigan, Purdue in the leadoff spot today, or as I think we were referring to it in the bullpen, wasn't it the Dana Jerry showdown?
Something like that.
Around here? Yeah. A few people with some stakes involved in this one. As we look at the highlights, remember the Michigan Wolverines had the problem with the plane. They had to abort the takeoff a couple days ago, but there they are right up against Purdue and holding their own. Zach Irvin to the rack. Game tied at 66. Purdue for the win?
No, but we're going to go to overtime. Dana, look at those uniforms. They got their uniforms back. They look nice.
They get their uniforms. So now they look good to you guys, and they look good on the floor playing as well. Irvin again. The Wolverines up by 2 to play in overtime. Michigan by 1.
He was really good. Finished with 13 points and 7 rebounds. 74-70 of Michigan. Caleb Swanigan, by the way, only had 13 and 13. He was just 5 of 13 from the field.
And they will play the winner of the Michigan State-Minnesota matchup that you see right below them there. Sparty is 28 and 14 all-time in the Big Ten tournament, seeking their 4th title in 6 seasons. Obviously a down year for the Spartans. We were talking about this with Jerry Palm, and he was saying it's a bad matchup for both teams when you look at Michigan, Purdue, and Michigan came out on the winning end again.
They've been playing really well. I know that the story over the past few days has been the plane crash, and it should be. I mean, that was a seriously scary thing. But sort of lost in all this is heading into Michigan's been playing at a high level. There was a time earlier in the season where they didn't look like they were an NCAA tournament team, but John Beilein, being one of the very best coaches in college basketball, got everything figured out, and now I won't be surprised if they're cutting Big Ten tournament nets.
And sometimes when they have something that happened with the plane, it rallies them together. You saw it. They had to play one game with the jerseys that looked terrible. They were awful.
They were not terrible.
They were terrible, but it rallies them. When you're facing adversity as a player in the locker room and you have to do it all as a team, you see it on the court, and I think they're playing together. And even in that game, it was an ugly game. One team had 15 turnovers, the other had 13. Horrible matchup. But they pulled it out.
And it is, when you talk about how they're going to rally, we were wondering yesterday after they got that win, it was, will they fall apart now against Purdue because you've had that rallying moment? You don't know which way they're going to go, and obviously right now at least the Michigan Wolverines win and survive and advance. Now Kentucky is the team to beat in the SEC tournament, the top seed, winners of the Wildcats' 48th regular season league title this year, going up against Georgia, which would be a bubble club in Georgia. Isaiah Briscoe gets it to go, and the Wildcats have a 27-14 lead. Kentucky up 5.
And right here, a nice move going in. Isaiah Briscoe there with a pull-up jumper before the buzzer.
Wildcats were up 7 at the break. Second half, Kentucky just rolling in this one. 52-41 on top right now for Kentucky. I don't like to assume anything this time of year, but I'm going to assume that they do move on and they will play the winner.
You can call it.
Of Alabama. I can Sharpie it, as Beth Davis would say it.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Kentucky. It's probably going to be Kentucky at the end of this as well. I don't know if you've ever been to that tournament in Nashville, but even though Vanderbilt is in Nashville, it is not filled with Vanderbilt fans. It is all Kentucky fans. I was there a couple years ago, that team that was undefeated all the way to the Final Four, and you're in there, 18,000 people, and it feels like Rupp Arena. Kentucky, because of that insane fan base, has an incredible advantage when it comes to these sorts of, quote, neutral court situations, because they don't feel like neutral court situations at all. Basically, you're going to beat Kentucky in this thing, you're going to have to win a road game.
And that fan base travels very, very well, and that's something that I always is encouraging to see from that team.
And, you're talking about Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's going up against Florida. We saw in the bracket, they swept their 2 regular season meetings, and we were talking with Jerry Palm earlier. If you've been with us all day, this is a team, again, that's trying to play its way into the tournament. A lot to do, but a bubble club, so you want to see them do it.
And you never know what that motivation means. We saw it last night with Kansas State and Baylor. Baylor's safely in no matter what. Kansas State needed that win, so what happens? Kansas State's got more to play for, and it looked like it. Will that be the case with Florida and Vandy? We'll see.
Could that be foreshadowing for what I'm about to tease? I think so. Up next, we're going to head to the A10. Dayton, the top seed, but no easy task to survive and advance. What could I mean there? Also, Rhode Island, another one of those bubble clubs. They're taking on the Bonnies. We will explore next.
Inside College Basketball Bracket Week on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Kubota Tractor Corporation, where passion meets performance. Kubota helps you achieve more. And by Best Western Hotels and Resorts. Go get rewarded now at bestwestern.com.
A10 conference tournament, the top seed Dayton taking on the 9 seed Davidson. Upset special coming. Charles Cook there. Flyers in front, 65-62. Davidson still trailing by 3.
And they were not done. Axel Goodmanson answers with a triple right there, and they tied at 65. And then Jack Gibbs, who's been great for this club all year, buries the 3 to give him the lead.
Yeah, and it is Gibbs again. He had 34 points, 5 of 11 from downtown. I can speak, really. I just can't believe this happened. Davidson gets the win over the top seed Dayton. Upset special of the day. Rhode Island going on right now 11-4 with the lead over the Bonnies. We look at all of this, Jerry. We go to our bracket expert now. So Dayton's safely in, but we still have some other teams in the A-10 to talk about, and who knows who's going to win the conference tournament now.
Yeah, right. Well, I've got Rhode Island as the last team in my bracket, so the Dayton loss is kind of good news, bad news for Rhode Island. Good news is it might be easier for them to now get to the final and win a conference championship. Bad news is if they'd have gotten to beat Dayton before the conference championship, they might not have had to win the conference championship. Now Rhode Island might be in a spot where they have to actually win in order to get in. And now, you know, obviously for VCU on the other half of the bracket, having Dayton out of the way obviously makes their path to a championship easier as well. So it'll be interesting to see if this ends up being 2, 3, 4. If Davidson maybe could steal a bid, it might be Rhode Island's bid they steal.
Guys, we talked about this yesterday when we saw some of the top seeds go down. We had Kansas going down. At least they get some rest, but not the way you want to perform in your conference tournament.
Trust me, Archie didn't want to get rest. He wanted to go win this conference tournament, right?
Doubt.
So it's a bad deal for Dayton. But if you're Rhode Island, like Jerry pointed out, there's two ways to look at this. I think if you're Dan Hurley, you like Dayton just getting out of your way. Let's go try to win as many games as we can. And you know what? That is an easier path to the sure thing, and that's the automatic bid. With Dayton out of the way, it opens it up for Rhode Island. They're up early on St. Bonaventure. Now you just got to beat Davidson to get to the championship game. There's a path there for Rhode Island.
Yeah, and we'll go back to Jerry here because you said Rhode Island, one of your last 4 right now in. Let's take a look at the last 4 in and the first 4 out.
Right. So Kansas State, after the win over Baylor, they are the first of the last 4 in, followed by Wake Forest and Cal, who also got a big win yesterday over Utah. And then Rhode Island, as we just talked about. And then for the first 4 out, Vanderbilt in the SEC. We've got Illinois State, the co-champs of the Missouri Valley, have been sitting around now for most of a week. Georgia, who probably needs to beat Kentucky, so that comeback better happen for them. And then Iowa, who's pretty much out, and probably Syracuse right there with them.
All right, Jerry, we appreciate it. I don't think that comeback's going to happen, as we were saying earlier, but you never know. You never know. Stranger things have happened. We're going to move on now to the American. We look at the semifinals going on there. It is ECU taking on SMU. If you were with us at our last halftime, it's like an SMU blowout. It's got good. Trust me on this one. Mustangs are going to go up 49-29. Under a minute to go. ECU closing the gap, trails by 3.
Dana, we were in the bullpen. We basically stopped watching this game, and now ECU's got it tied up under a minute to play. But here's Shimi Ojale going to get the putback. He had a career-high 36 points and 12 rebounds. And SMU is going to be able, that's a turnover, hold on here. A little too close for Tim Jankovich's comfort. But still, 81-77, they advanced to wait on the winner of UCF Memphis. And it looks like right now it's going to be UCF.
UCF on an 18-0 run. That'll get her done. We've got more coming up for you here. Up next, we're going to look ahead to the semifinals in the MAC and the Mountain West. Akron and big man Isaiah Johnson looking to secure the MAC title. And then there's Nevada hoping to punch their first ticket to the big dance since 2007.
Everything around him is chaos. But he's all alone. He doesn't hear the fans. It's just him. And his much bigger, much stronger, much faster opponent. The PBR Built Ford Tough Series, Sunday at 5 on CBS Sports Network.
Welcome back to Inside College Basketball Bracket Week presented by Kubota. You are looking at the bracket for the MAC tournament. You'll see their action tonight at 5:30 Eastern Time right here on CBS Sports Network. Now, Akron, guys, has the 1 seed, but they also lost 3 of their last 5 going into the tournament.
Yeah, that's not the way you want to be playing. It doesn't guarantee anything one way or the other, but you'd like for them to be playing a little bit better. Still, they have established themselves as the best team in this league. They're 25-7 right now. They got 5 players averaging at least 9 points per game. LeBron James' favorite team, clearly in college basketball.
That's it. That's all you need, right?
You would think so, at least in that market for sure. Isaiah Johnson's averaging 16.4 points and 7.4 rebounds on the season. He is a big man's big man. And so now, Akron's got a chance to get to the NCAA tournament for the third time inside of a 7-year span. That's a really good accomplishment. Just got to win a couple more games.
I'd say a lot of teams would take those numbers. Later on tonight, we're also going to have the Mountain West semifinals. That starts at 10 o'clock Eastern time. The 1 seed is Nevada. They'll take on Fresno State. The Wolfpack seeking their first tournament bid since 2007. Eric Musselman's crew really wants to get there. You can bet that, Danny. And this is a Utah State, a Nevada-Fresno State matchup after Nevada dismantled Utah State.
Yes, it is. And this Nevada team, they need to take advantage of this opportunity of the Mountain West being a down year. They have a great core with that team. Cameron Oliver, what he brings as a big man, their guard play, Marcus Marshall. They have all the pieces that they need to win this thing. And you don't want to be left thinking, hoping that the bracketologist people put you in.
Did you hear that, Paul? Where are you? Where are you? Just kidding.
You want to just silence all the critics,
right,
and you go out and win your conference championship, and you get the automatic.
Take care of business.
No, we talked about this last night. If you're Nevada in a normal Mountain West Conference year, you're going to get opportunity after opportunity to stack top 50 wins, to stack top 100 wins. They don't get them this year because the rest of the Mountain West, with all due respect, isn't very good. And so Nevada is sitting here very much in a situation where they probably need to win this conference tournament to get the auto bid. But trust me, that's a team that's good enough to advance if it gets into the field of 68. The job Eric Musselman has done inside of just 2 years, totally rebuild that roster, really impressive.
Yeah, very much so. We've got more to come here on Inside College Basketball Bracket Week presented by Kubota as we get set for the second Conference USA semifinal matchup between Louisiana Tech and Marshall. It's coming up at the top of the hour.
Inside College Basketball Bracket Week on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Kubota Tractor Corporation, where passion meets performance. Kubota helps you achieve more.
We're minutes away from our second Conference USA semifinal, but just checking in on the Big Ten tournament going on in Washington, D.C. Right now, Minnesota, the slim lead by 3 over Michigan State. The winner will take on the Michigan Wolverines tomorrow. And then the A-10, we've got all eyes on Rhode Island right now, one of the bubble teams we've been talking about, a 4-point lead over the Bonnies. That's tightened up a little bit, but the number 1 seed, Dayton, is out of the mix. Davidson, the 9 seed, getting the upset earlier. You'll see that tomorrow on, by the way, on CBS Sports Network. UTEP and Middle Tennessee, you saw him earlier right here. Ja'Cory Williams, 13 points, 2 of them. They're Blue Raiders with the lead. Middle Tennessee up 10.
There's Giddy Potts with a little layup. He had 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 steals. And Dana, Middle Tennessee just really controlled this from start to finish. There's Reggie Upshaw draining a 3. Now you're going to see him again. Go ahead, pull it if they're going to leave you right there. 18 points, 8 rebounds for him. Middle shot, 47% from the field. They advance to the championship game.
Kermit Davis has to like what he sees from that club. They've got so much experience from that win in the Big Dance last year over Michigan State. They are the 1 seed, and I think everybody who knows Conference USA, other than Marshall fans, wants to see the matchup with Louisiana Tech. And it is Louisiana Tech and Marshall that now is just a little less than a minute away.
Yes, they are, and that's going to be a great game, and there will be no defense played.
That's right.
As we spoke about. One thing about Marshall, it's a fun team to watch. You know, they're going to score a lot of points, and they're going to give up a lot of points.
Dan's brother, of course, is the head coach of the Houston Rockets. Totally rebuilt that. Might be in play for NBA Coach of the Year. Dan doesn't have James Harden, but he's got a pretty good player in John Elmore, who is playing the role of James Harden at the collegiate level. This is going to be a really fun basketball game that could get into the 90s. We don't get that all the time in college basketball, but we're probably about to get that right here on CBS Sports Network.
Yeah, my corny statement I made, their last name's D'Antoni. Who knew there was no D in D'Antoni? Never learned how to play it. I know. I'm sorry, these guys are stuck with me, and so are you all day. But we're bringing you good information. Let's get you out to Birmingham. Carter Blackburn, Pete Gillen, Jamie Erdahl have our second Conference USA semi. We'll see you at the half.